Firefighters in Utah battling flames ravaging much of California. We'll get you up to speed on the challenges they're facing during their mission. A woman found dead near the Great Salt Lake. The new details Unified Police released tonight in their investigation. And a long-time concert venue in Salt Lake City will soon be history. We'll take a deep dive into the history of In the Venue.
Maintaining a high fire weather concerns. We're going to allow these winds to continue on, but it's the winds of change as we're looking for a cold front to move through. How far will temperatures drop? We'll let you know on the forecast.
Live from Fox 13 Studios, this is Fox 13 News at 9.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Brian Schnee. Right now, more than 30 Utah firefighters are in California helping to fight massive wildfires that are just devastating some parts of the state. Fox 13's Sydney Glenn checks in on our firefighters to find out why it's about more than just helping out a neighbor.
We're here just to the west of Red Bluff, California.
It's a trip unlike any other.
We're working on the Elkhorn fire. It's about 33,000 acres.
Matt McFarland, along with about 30 other Utah firefighters, are taking on these California wildfires head on.
There's a new fuel type. There's terrain we're unfamiliar with. Weather patterns and wind patterns that aren't necessarily our own, but we adapt.
Long days, tall flames, and tough conditions.
This is day 6 for us. We've been working long work cycles.
They're far from home, yet McFarland says it hits home.
We can all identify with this. We struggle with wildfires where we live.
Well, we haven't seen anything like this so far this year. It doesn't mean we won't.
These are important lessons for Utah firefighters. When we come home and we have large-scale incidences, it allows us to have that experience.
It's about learning, training, growing, and most of all, stepping up.
When things get large, we have to rely on each other, and that community grows.
Well, right now, it's a trip for Utah firefighters. You never know when it will be someone else making the trip for us.
It comes to Utah. If we take our turn, if we have a serious incident, they'll come to us and they'll support us.
McFarland says they'll likely be out in California for at least another week or so. Back home here in Utah, he says many firefighters have offered to work overtime to make sure that the stations here stay fully covered while they're away. In Midvale, Sydney Glenn, Fox 13 News, Utah.
New at 9, a man is dead after a motorcycle crash in Ogden. Police say the 71-year-old victim was thrown off his Harley-Davidson on the 2000 block of Washington Boulevard after he crashed into the back of another car at a red light. Investigators say the victim was pronounced deceased at the scene. He was not wearing a helmet at the time. Police say neither speed nor impairment played a role here. Right now, Unified Police are investigating a woman's death after her body was found this morning near the Great Salt Lake. Police say someone was jogging near Frontage Road when they came across a woman's body. The victim is believed to have been there for many days. She had no ID on her, and it's unclear how she ended up there.
We're classifying it right now as a suspicious death. We don't know a whole lot. We have a female, and that's about the extent of what we know.
Police say the woman had black hair and tattoos that said Joseph and Jay Grin. If you have any tips to help investigators, please contact Unified Police. In southern Utah, hundreds of people gathering in St. George tonight for an All Lives Matter protest. We'll take a look at these images from our partners at the St. George News. The demonstrators lined along St. George Boulevard with the intent to stand up for all lives. The St. George News reports a handful of Black Lives Matter protesters also showed up to demonstrate. All indications show this protest remained peaceful. Iron County Sheriff's deputies investigating a missing St. George woman's death as a homicide. Deputies say the body of 26-year-old Stevie Wilkerson was found in a remote area of western Iron County last Sunday. If you have any information about Wilkerson's death, please contact Iron County Sheriff's Office. Take a look at this massive fire at the Springville Waste Transfer Station that happened today. A Fox 13 viewer took this video of the flames before firefighters got there. It sparked around noon, sending dark smoke into the air that could be seen for miles. Multiple crews worked to protect a gas station next to the waste transfer station. No word yet on if anyone was injured during the incident or if any structures were destroyed. Unified Police have identified the woman killed in a car crash in Kearns last night as 37-year-old Cecilia Ruby Chavez of Magna. Police say Chavez died after she T-boned a car pulling out of the Thomas Jefferson Junior High School. A 14-year-old girl was also sent to the hospital in critical condition. Firefighters were busy with a fast-moving grass fire along I-80 this afternoon. Here's a look at Salt Lake City fire arriving as the flames moved closer to 5600 West. It burned roughly 20 acres, and crews were able to mop up before the sun went down. It's unknown what caused this fire, but the flames did impact over 150 Rocky Mountain Power customers. The East Fork fire in Duchesne County has now burned more than 2,800 acres. It started back on August 21st, 13 miles north of Hanna. It's currently 17% contained. There are closures in place in the High Uinta Wilderness, just west of the Lake Fork Trail and the Highline Trail to the Ashley National Forest boundary. Breck Bolton tracking storms earlier tonight, moving through southern and central Utah, which brought some rain along with it. Breck, what's in store for Sunday statewide?
Well, these isolated thunderstorms really fizzling out. As we're looking at current conditions across the state, we mentioned battling these new blazes. Of course, fast moving, meaning that the winds are there and dry conditions do persist. Where, as we look at the winds, they are calming down just a bit, us finding some stronger wind gusts as we look towards the western desert delta right now. You find sustained winds at 21 miles per hour. It becomes less of a concern as we track through the night. Tomorrow, though, those winds will be picking up. One benefit is that we're starting to see some of that moisture squeeze out, move off to the east, even though we're holding on just to a few isolated spots where we might potentially see some rain showers. But all in all, you can see the impact here over the past 2 or 3 hours where everything just kind of dying off, and it's really not much of a concern. Turning towards eastern Utah, maybe some brief light rain showers. I-70 as you're making your exit from Green River heading over towards Grand Junction, and also traveling through Spanish Fork Canyon, you might see some brief rain. But all across northern Utah, drier air moving in, which means for tonight we're going to be looking at mostly clear skies. Now, today's high temperatures, another hot one, afternoon highs above normal, a little cooler than yesterday, but we were looking at low 90s, at least along the Wasatch Front, low to mid 90s through central Utah. Still looking at the high today in St. George at 100 degrees. We're cooling down, heading for the 80s and even seeing some 70s. Yeah, cold front on the way, as it will be dropping temperatures but kicking up the winds as well. Could we see a possibility of rain from this front? I'll let you know coming up.
Red flag warnings across much of the state, mixed with thunderstorms across southern and central Utah, has left a lot of people concerned. Fox 13 Spencer Joseph is taking a look at the fire danger surrounding thunderstorms across Utah.
Fuels are very dry. We've been very lucky that we have caught the majority of fires small. That includes the human cause and the lightning starts. Fire resources, no matter what agency they work for, have been working really hard this year.
With the yearly monsoon storms that have been rolling through Utah, you've probably heard the thunder and seen the lightning. And those bolts are a concern for fire crews with these storms moving through Saturday.
That's a concern with this storm system that's moving through right now is outflow winds. Any lightning starts we do get will be pushed by those winds.
In California right now, over 1 million acres has burned this year. The majority of those fires caused by lightning strikes. Utah is no stranger either, with the Milford Flat Fire in 2007, the state's largest wildfire in history at over 363,000 acres, caused by lightning.
Weather is crucial for us to understand both what's happening today, watching as those changes happen throughout the day, and then predictions coming up.
Specifically, lightning-caused fires pose additional challenges for firefighters.
Locations, so a lot of times we'll have lightning-caused fires in very remote areas. They also can smolder for a few days at a time. We may not detect it initially.
And while the rain that comes with the lightning does make a difference,
It's given us a little relief in some of those areas, especially in southern Utah, where we were seeing the record and near record levels.
Lightning-caused fires are common and dangerous, which is why fire crews say with things this dry, they've been very lucky so far.
And they've done an outstanding job at keeping fires small so they're not spreading and growing to those large incidents.
Even though we have had a lot of precipitation, making this vegetation a little bit more moist, it isn't nearly enough to get us out of fire season. We still will have a ways to go. In Salt Lake City, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Still to come on Fox 13 News at 9, how are businesses in downtown Salt Lake City doing at this point in the pandemic? We'll take a closer look.
A piece of Salt Lake City's music history will soon be torn down to the ground. We'll have a look back at some memories in the venue.
Here's a live look into Stewart Stadium in Ogden tonight, where more than 750 graduates are having their names read as they walk at the 155th Weber State University commencement. Now, those in attendance to watch their Wildcat graduates were socially distanced. Speaking tonight was Crystal Call Magalit, a CEO of an Ogden-based business who also received an honorary degree. Congratulations to the Weber State class of 2020. Tonight, people from around the state came together at the Wetland Discovery Point in Kaysville to light a lantern to bring awareness and remember those who have lost their lives to the opioid epidemic. Now, with the isolation that COVID-19 has brought to many, it's become even more important to bring attention to this issue.
And the importance, I guess, is offering people an opportunity to recognize the ones that they've lost and giving them a space to know that they're not alone.
International Overdose Awareness Day takes place on August 31st. We've now passed the 51,000 mark for COVID-19 cases here in Utah. There were 458 new coronavirus cases reported today. No new deaths were reported. Our rolling 7-day average is 366 cases per day, and the rolling weekly average of positive lab tests is 9.1%. Over 43,000 Utahns have recovered from the virus. New at 9, the Uinta School District says a second person at Discovery Elementary School has tested positive for COVID-19. The Tri-County Health Department says neither of the cases at the school caught the virus on school grounds. Those who have been in close contact with the 2 individuals at Discovery Elementary have been notified by the school's principal. The Navajo Nation started a 32-hour weekend lockdown at 9 o'clock tonight. It's set to last until 5 a.m. Monday. So far, the Navajo Nation has seen 500 COVID-19 deaths. That's after health officials reported 14 new cases and 1 more death on Friday. There have been almost 9,800 COVID-19 cases in the Navajo Nation. About 7,000 of those cases are considered recovered. New figures have been shared with Fox 13 about the state of downtown Salt Lake City in the COVID-19 pandemic. The Downtown Alliance says only 23% of office workers are back in the central business district. Hotel occupancy is only about 29%. That's up 3% from the beginning of the month. Salt Lake City International Airport traffic is now averaging 10,000 passengers a day. There are still no conventions scheduled at the Salt Palace. 133 restaurants and bars are open, but sales are down 53% over last year. 84% of retail is open downtown now. Arts events are happening at the Gateway, but closed in the rest of downtown. The state is spending millions to help Utah arts and cultural organizations survive the COVID-19 pandemic. The Utah legislature has approved sending $9 million to provide grant money. Utah's Division of Arts and Museums offered some of it to the biggest groups, but they are changing the rules so smaller arts groups can get some relief money. You can see the list here on your screen. The legislature has just approved another round of money for smaller organizations. Details are expected to be announced soon. Pacific Islander communities from around the state came together in South Salt Lake today for an Island Connect Network-a-thon fair. Open Arms Youth and Adult Services put on the event. Now, it showcased Pacific Islander entrepreneurs and business professionals and featured various vendor booths, live entertainment, and a workout session.
The idea was to bring together the different Pacific Island community business owners and network, and also just to get the word out. I think there's a lot of businesses out there, and there's not a lot of awareness amongst the community and within the Polynesia community itself.
Open Arms Youth and Adult Services holds a network-a-thon every quarter. It's time to say goodbye to a once popular downtown Salt Lake Club and Concert Hall. In the venue will soon be replaced by housing development. Fox 13's John Franke explains how that building changed one Utah man's life.
Some of the biggest musical acts in history performed on the other side of these walls. This building is a piece of Salt Lake City history. In a few days, it'll be no more.
It was open from '94 all the way up until about, I'd say, 2 months ago.
Oh, if these walls could talk.
I spent most of my, life there, actually.
Since the walls can't share their stories, Don Neely can share his.
I started there as the janitor.
As Don got older, he worked his way up the ladder, eventually becoming the general manager of In the Venue and the owner of Club Sound.
I met so many, so many old friends through there. I met my wife through there.
When he started in the 90s, all of this was called Bricks, a club that offered a safe space to the gay community.
We had a sign out front that said, come in peace or don't come at all, acceptance for all.
Over the years, Bricks became In the Venue.
As artists go up, we would catch them on their way up.
A concert hall that was a stop for many on the path to stardom.
Biggest name, we had Katy Perry, we had RuPaul when she first came through.
Search YouTube, and you'll find Don's favorite from a decade ago.
I think the one was MGMT was my favorite concert there. There's this very organic flow on the stage.
Now the music has died.
The building was getting old. It was costing a lot in repairs.
This little corner of Salt Lake City will soon be replaced with new housing.
A little sad to see more condos go up on top of something that was such a landmark.
A nod to the future, taking away a part of Salt Lake City's and Don's past.
I know that the moment that I see it torn down is going to kind of be the heartache there.
When this building comes down next week, Don says he won't be here to watch. It's just too painful. In Salt Lake City, Sean Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, a more uplifting theme of music. Record lovers across the country and here in Utah are celebrating Record Store Day. Independent stores will mark today with merchandise deals or webinar events and virtual concerts. Now, Record Store Day will feature special release drops from artists such as The Weeknd, The Black Keys, and special classic drops from The Who and John Lennon.
Records can sound, infinitely better than a lot of other sources, especially streaming or something like that. The warmness of old analog records or even new pressings of records sound out and out amazing.
Stores in Utah celebrating the day with social distancing requirements and extra cleaning. Record Store Day was canceled back in April, so this year will be split over 3 upcoming weekends to hopefully help some local record stores out even more. Well, you can feel that wind picking up throughout the afternoon, Breck. Is that an indicator of what's to come here statewide?
Well, I don't want to be a broken record anymore in that we've, of course, been holding on to the heat and dry conditions. Yeah, these winds, a sign of changes on the way. We didn't experience too much today as far as the temperatures are concerned. Once again, above normal with the official high in Salt Lake City at 93 degrees. We should be in the upper 80s, but these winds, yes, picking up as we're going to be talking about red flag warnings that look to remain in effect moving through the rest of the weekend. Temperatures right now in the 80s still, at least in Salt Lake City, Ogden, we're in the upper 70s as we look in Provo. Winds earlier on sustained 10 to 20 miles per hour. They're dying off just a little bit, but we'll see a resurgence as we head into tomorrow afternoon. In addition, looking at the air quality, hoping with these winds, it would improve the air quality. Here's the thing, though. The main upper level flow out of the west, which continues to bring in some smoke, and we're seeing that impact across northern Utah. In that air quality from Cache Valley all the way down to the center of the end of the Wasatch Front, a lot of yellow dots, even some embedded orange dots, at least through Salt Lake Valley. So haven't seen much of an improvement air quality wise here over the past 2 or 3 days. Green conditions as we turn towards southern Utah, where we've definitely been seeing less or thinning out that smoke. Now here's our smoke forecast models taking a look. Yes, we have the wildfires burning through California. As we continue that westerly flow, we'll see at least a little bit of smoke tracking through, but things will be improving. The reason being is we're going to be changing the flow. Initially coming in out of the south in preparation of a cold front that will be moving through. Once that cold front gets through, that wind direction changes out of the northwest. Really not seeing a supply of smoke from that direction, so things look to really improve, especially as we go from Sunday into Monday. But it's going to take these winds, and when we bring in those winds, it's just not a good situation as we move because it's so dry. And once again, tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be finding sustained winds, 10 to 20 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit stronger, with additional wind gusts 30 to 35 miles per hour. Now today, we have these isolated thunderstorms that have the potential of producing gusty winds, but we're really going to be limiting that activity as we push through. As moisture moving away, we're seeing showers that were impacting at least central and southern Utah earlier on quickly dissipating. So it looks like we'll be fairly good here for the rest of the evening into tomorrow morning early, and dry conditions really as we look along the Wasatch Front and all of northern Utah, even as we saw those thunderstorms last night rolling through portions of Weber, Davis County and over the mountains. That is exiting as high pressure moving to the east, moving and getting forced to make that move because of a series of cool fronts that will be pushing through. We have a weak one that's hitting tonight that will usher in some slightly cooler temperatures for tomorrow, but a stronger front is what we're keeping our eye on. That really brings the temperature change as we go from Monday into Tuesday. So let's talk about the models where we're looking at both clouds as well as precipitation. As you can see, that moisture moving away, at least as we look for Sunday. Not much of a threat of it, seeing even some isolated thunderstorms. Cold front tracking in as we look towards tonight through Monday. It sweeps in. And behind it, as cooler air moves in, we're going to see some clouds, the potential Monday late, and maybe seeing some brief rain showers across northern Utah, especially over the mountains. But this cold front bringing temperatures down to where we typically find the last week of September. In that, we're going to be looking at some 70s along the Wasatch Front. And overnight lows Monday through Tuesday morning get really chilly. Logan will see overnight lows in the 30s as well as in Park City. But for most of northern Utah, a nice temperature drop, giving us a hint of fall. But again, it takes an extra day before we'll experience that air moving in. So for tomorrow's for tonight, we're going to be looking at temperatures in the 60s. And for tomorrow, it's 80s along the Wasatch Front, low 90s in Provo. Still finding 80s and 90s through central Utah. Less of a chance of afternoon thunderstorms, as it will be dry for St. George for the next 7 days. We get a couple of days in the 90s, returning to the triple digits Thursday and Friday. And for northern Utah, it's 80s to 70s, 74 on Tuesday, overnight low in the low 50s. But again, Logan, you'll see 30s, Park City as well. And then it's quickly rebounding back into the 90s. There is a chance of maybe seeing some late afternoon, early evening showers on Monday, and that's it. But cooler air will feel nice, and there's a taste of fall.
Well, looking forward to it. Thank you, Breck. With fewer cars out on the roads during the pandemic, are we seeing fewer crashes? Well, think about that, and we'll share some data with you when you come back.
This is Fox 13 News.
Thanks for joining us tonight at 9:30. There may be fewer drivers on Utah roads this summer, but the Utah Department of Transportation says that has not meant fewer crashes. Fox 13's Aaron Cox shows us why crashes are up compared to this time last year.
Utah roads are not as jam-packed with traffic this summer.
Everything has changed with 2020, and the situation on our roads is no different.
Fewer cars as more people work from home does not mean fewer crashes, according to UDOT's John Gleason.
You would think that with that reduced traffic, we would have reduced crashes and reduced fatalities, and unfortunately, that hasn't been the case.
This graphic from UDOT shows that while overall crashes are down this year compared to last, the number of fatalities are up. Gleason says they're seeing speed-related crashes that are higher than normal.
If you have free reign, then sometimes people just have that false sense of security that they can drive as fast as they'd like and they don't have to deal with traffic, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
The message from UDOT: now is the time drivers need to continue to concentrate.
In the summer months when traffic is clear and the road conditions are great, a lot of times people will kind of throw caution to the wind, and that's when we see these crashes, and a lot of times they're serious and fatal.
It's a trend UDOT hopes to reverse. Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, we're nearing the end of what UDOT calls the 100 deadliest days. They say during the summer months, fatal crashes nearly double on Utah's roads. So far this year, there have been 167 deadly crashes and 967 serious injury-related accidents. The 100 deadliest days are the days from Memorial Day through Labor Day. Fox 13 is proud to partner with Utah Highway Patrol and UDOT for the only acceptable goal, 0 fatalities. To learn more about ways to keep Utah's roads safe, go to fox13now.com. Intermountain Healthcare celebrating 30 years of its Hold On to Dear Life campaign with the launch of a new emotional well-being program. Fox 13's Haley Higgins shows us how the new program is focusing on children's emotional development.
Intermountain healthcare leaders say Utah kids are struggling as they transition into the teenage years.
We know that these middle school years can be tough ones.
Despite how your tween may present to you, they're more likely to seek help from you than you realize.
Hospital leaders say parents are already helping their preteens learn basic life skills like showering regularly and what foods to eat. It's time to do the same with emotional help.
Kids are experiencing many changes, physical, social, and emotional. And sometimes parents are a little bit at a loss of how to best help their kids navigate these changes.
To help, Intermountain Healthcare has created a website, talktoteens.com, where parents can find tools and resources.
We hope that with these tools, parents who have never had a conversation about emotional well-being will start, and that they'll continue. And for those parents who are already having these talks, that this program will give them some new ideas and tools.
You remain critical in their lives, an important source of truth to them. These are small steps that can make a significant difference in you and your tween's life.
The new emotional program is designed for parents of young tween kids between the ages of 6th and 9th grades. We'll link the program website to ours, fox13now.com. Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Still ahead, he was mobbed after the president's speech at the Republican National Convention. Now Senator Rand Paul is calling for an investigation. And nearly a week after the Jacob Blake shooting in Wisconsin, protesters are refusing to stay silent, and they're calling for change.
Live from Fox 13 Studios, this is Fox 13 News at 9.
Nearly a week since the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin by police, the calls for racial justice only seem to be getting louder.
Peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Jacob Blake's family led a march through the city, hundreds of demonstrators coming out to protest systemic racism and police brutality. They're demanding justice after a white police officer shot Blake 7 times. Investigators say he had a knife in his vehicle and a warrant out for his arrest. During today's protest, Blake's father called the incident attempted murder.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. No justice. No justice. And we're not going to stop.
Blake remains paralyzed in the hospital after multiple surgeries. His family is calling on police to arrest the officer who shot him and the others who were involved. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul wants an investigation after he says he and his wife were attacked by protesters on the final night of the Republican National Convention. Senator Paul and his wife thought they were going to be overrun by a mob leaving the president's speech at the White House Thursday night. Much of the demonstrators demanded the senator acknowledge Breonna Taylor, who was killed in his home state.
I really felt that we were going to lose our lives. I thought someone was going to throw a brick. I mean, it was the most terrifying moment of my entire life.
30 people descend on us, but then 30 became 60, became 90, became 120, and it swelled. And they're completely surrounding us. They are pushing us. They are threatening to kill us.
On Twitter, Senator Paul thanked the D.C. Metro Police Department for saving his life. President Trump says he wants to give a medal to the police officers involved in protecting Senator Paul and his wife. President Donald Trump paid a visit to Louisiana and Texas after parts of those states were devastated by Hurricane Laura this week. The president surveyed the damage in Lake Charles, where the storm leveled homes and businesses as it came ashore with 150-mile-per-hour winds. An estimated 400,000 people are without power, and utility officials say it could be weeks until their service is restored.
We're also assisting state and local officials to restore water to roughly 180,000 residents and to protect energy infrastructure.
The president signed a disaster declaration for Louisiana on Friday. This opens up additional FEMA funding for some of the hardest hit communities. Hurricane Laura is already being blamed for at least 16 deaths across Louisiana and Texas. Coming up, a sleep disorder that doctors are seeing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. What you can do to combat it and get a good night's sleep. You've probably experienced it yourself or have even seen it in your kids, something called COVID-somnia. Well, it's either a lack of sleep, too much sleep, or your bedtime is just way off. Fox 13's Amy Nay breaks down the importance in sleep in tonight's Healthier Together report.
And the power of sleep is pretty amazing.
Justin Jones, health and wellness consultant with Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield of Utah.
One of the common results of this pandemic is not only been just the loss of a routine in general, but certainly our sleep routine. And physicians, I think across the country are starting to see this uptick in what they're calling COVID-somnia.
He says that ranges from insomnia to hypersomnia to a number of different sleep disorders.
Sleep is probably one of the most important things you can do for your body, along with, proper nutrition and exercise.
He says we need a healthy, consistent routine beginning about an hour before bedtime that does not include TV, your phone, or other devices.
And I know it's a big ask, but if we can remove the TV, if we can remove the devices from our room, there's some research out there around blue light, and that's the light that's emitted from these devices. And that blue light can really help us, or that bright light can really help us in the morning to get us up and alert. But at night, that's the exact opposite of what we want.
Exercise, he says, can help, and watching your alcohol and caffeine consumption.
We develop a proper routine, we get some exercise, and we just really be careful around caffeine and alcohol. I think will put us in some good habits.
And when it comes to how much we need, that varies by age. The American Academy of Pediatrics advises preschoolers get 10 to 13 hours a day, school-aged kids 9 to 11 hours, and teens 8 to 10. And for the rest of us? 7
to 9 hours is really what we're looking for. If you're having some sleep issues or you feel like you're kind of getting on the verge of that, especially during this pandemic, I highly encourage you to talk to your physician about that.
Helping you sleep sounder. It can do wonders for your health. For Healthier Together, Amy Nay, Fox 13 News, Utah.
For more details on this or other health stories, or if you have health questions you'd like answered, you can always email us at healthiertogether@fox13now.com. Still ahead on Fox 13 News at 9, there's a new investigative series out now made by a local film producer. We'll talk with the man behind The Con coming up.
And later in sports, the Jazz trying to juggle more than just basketball right now. Hear from Mike Conley ahead of Game 6. And after a very tumultuous week, RSL back at it tonight. Highlights at Portland in a bit.
Now streaming, The Con, a red-hot investigative series by a producer right here in Utah. Our Steve Oldfield has the interview with the man behind a project that could ultimately help you avoid losing your home.
This was money chasing people. This was not somebody looking for a loan.
The Con may be the most important work you watch this year. It reminds me of the Oscar-winning Inside Job that looked at what caused the financial crisis of 2008 and why so many people lost their homes.
The Inside Job is a spectacular film, but it literally is a thumbnail compared to what we reveal in The Con. Because if you don't understand the machinations of power and how regulation is supposed to work in this country and what the law is, you can't understand how this unbelievable machine of deception can operate.
Producer Patrick Lovell ended up losing his home here in Utah.
Well, I lived it, Steve. It was a really terrible chapter in my life. And I just thought, God, this isn't making sense to me. So I got lucky and I put together a project that went on basically a 9-year journey to get the truth.
The Con's a 5-part docuseries that lays it all out in an easy-to-understand way, showing how some greedy lenders can make home payments affordable at first, but then suddenly they balloon to huge amounts, and when you can't afford to pay, they take your home away.
So there's no other word for it. You can't sugarcoat it. This was being evil.
Thank you, Steve. That really means a great deal to me as a filmmaker in this case, because ultimately, that's what this whole thing revealed to me. And it shocked me, right? We believe we're a country of laws. We believe that we're a country of decent people. But I was reminded of The Usual Suspects, and there was a line by Kevin Spacey where he said the greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world he didn't exist. And I thought, that's what this story is.
For more with Patrick, you can check out our entire interview on fox13now.com. Steve Oldfield, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Okay, we've been talking about this cold front. It is going to arrive. We're going to see some changes even as we look towards tomorrow with slightly cooler temperatures. Still holding on to the 80s, at least at this hour. Winds fairly light. Humidity low. With this cool front that's going to be pushing through, it's not bringing much moisture with it. Now, as we look for the rest of August and looking at its entirety for the month, we could have the hottest August on record, where as we take the highs and the lows, give you the average, where usually for the month of August, we have an average temperature of 77 degrees. Now, the previous record was 82.7, but as we look where we've been and looking over the next couple of days, if the forecast holds true, the average temperature will beat the record, and yeah, we'll make it 2020. Hottest August on record. Of course, it's been fairly dry. Now, we found a few isolated thunderstorms through southern Utah. Tomorrow, as we look at the flash flood potential, it's just not there. Winds will be there though, across the state with red flag warnings in place. Again, we'll find sustained winds anywhere between 10 to 20 miles per hour. And due to the dry conditions that are really taking shape here for tomorrow, that's a concern for firefighters. But as we've been talking about this cold front on the way, we're going to see some colder air, especially Monday and Tuesday. For tomorrow, though, we get a little drop as we'll be finding afternoon highs about where they should be for this time of year. A lot of sunshine, though, in the forecast for tomorrow. Ignore that isolated thunderstorm that's just kind of thrown on there. Expect to see sunny skies and temperatures in the upper 80s, as you can see in Ogden, Salt Lake City as well. Low 90s in Provo. Now, again, a little weak disturbance, or I should say cool front moving through, but the stronger front really transitioning Monday into Tuesday. And with that initial front, or I should say the front that's going to be moving through Monday and Tuesday, it could bring a chance, at least for northern Utah, the possibility of a late afternoon, early evening shower. We will not see that possibility across southern Utah. It's sunny, it's dry, a little cooler. It's 90s as we start the work week off. And then back to the triple digits. Yeah, summer quickly makes a comeback. You're not going to see much dip in temperatures for southern Utah, but a more significant temperature change for northern Utah. Breezy tomorrow. It's calm Monday, increasing the clouds though Monday afternoon into the evening. And then we see the chance of maybe some brief showers, mainly over the mountains though. It's 70s though as we head into Tuesday. Looks like slightly cooler temperatures, or below normal, I should say, Wednesday. But then back into the 90s and heading into the next weekend, it will be hot, it will be dry. So summer makes a comeback, but we get just a taste of fall at least Monday and Tuesday.
Following Wednesday's boycott, RSL's restart debut at home will have to wait. Meanwhile, the Claret and Cobalt did a late start at Portland tonight. The Timbers won the Welcome Back tournament, but were blanked 3-0 by Seattle last week at Providence Park. It took them 6 minutes to get one tonight. Chara taking advantage of that Andrew Putnam mistake for the Timber lead. Freddie Juarez keeping the troops motivated. The ball's pinballed around a bit before settling off the foot of Corey Baird. Hanging around for a reason, records the equalizer, only to watch Portland do this. About 90 seconds later, Yaroslav Niezgoda off the corner. Damir Krylak, though, has just tied it for RSL in the second half. Rough start for the Monarchs, the defending USL champs. Just 1-5-1 to start. Real with a much-needed goal late. Kyle Coffey punches in the cross to even the matchup at 1. Then again, it did not end the way they wanted it to. The ball in El Paso territory. This is one heck of a touch and rip here by Bruin de Leon. Another one in the L column for the Monarchs. For a while there, we weren't so sure the Jazz would even complete their season, but after some closed-door discussions, the Jazz, along with other teams across the NBA, elected to go forward. Utah has a chance tomorrow night to close out their first-round playoff series against the Nuggets. All the while, it's anybody's guess how focused they'll be with so much of the current socio-political environment on their minds.
For the moment, the game, is taking a back seat to what's important in a lot of our lives, and for us to have opportunity to not only play the game we love, but speak out on certain issues we want to raise awareness to or see change in our world is an unbelievable platform, and we just have to continue to push that, continue to not let it die.
3 games on Saturday, including the Lakers, with a shot to put away the Blazers. No Damian Lillard, though, for Portland. Out with a knee sprain. Carmelo Anthony picking up the slack. Blazers up 8. Lakers rally in the third. Anthony Davis all spotted up. Followed by LeBron James doing his thing. LA up big late. The Rockets and Bucks, they did win their playoff games today. Round 3 of the BMW Championship. Tough day for Tony Finau. Makes his final putt, but it's a bogey. 3 over for the round, 4 over overall. Still only 5 strokes off the lead, though we're only 2 guys are under par at this point. Hideki Matsuyama chipping an eagle from the bunker while Dustin Johnson's red hot. The top-ranked player in the world tied with Matsuyama at -1. And NASCAR's regular season finale. Watch him peel like a ripe banana. Sparks every which direction. A big chain reaction in Daytona, ending Ryan Newman's night. Then with 2 to go, another mess to bring out a red flag. Jimmy Johnson's car all beat up, likely putting an end to his incredible career as he failed to qualify for the playoffs. In overtime, it was William Byron getting his first Cup Series win. We'll be right back.
We're following breaking news just into our newsroom tonight. Utah State Park officials say a 55-year-old man was critically injured while trail running at Antelope Island State Park today. State Park officials say the man's injuries are consistent with a possible bison encounter, but there were no witnesses to the incident. The man was flown to the University of Utah Hospital. We'll keep you updated as we learn more. Thanks for watching Fox 13 News at 9. Don't go anywhere. QuickCast is coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night.